Alright, welcome back. It's time to take a look at one of the more interesting vehicles in the game, the IT-1. Now the IT-1 is based on the T-62 hull, although at first I actually thought that this thing was based on the T-54. It does look very much like the T-54, at least the hull does, and the turret kind of does have the same resemblance, but it is based on the T-62. Now, the IT in the name means Истребитель Tankov, which can be translated into tank killer or tank destroyer. A very suiting name, since this thing has a huge missile on top of the turrets that can penetrate up to 500 millimeters of armor. Now, this tank was actually in service in a limited service from 1968 and 1970, and overall it is a very interesting vehicle indeed. It is using the 3M7 Dragon missile, and it has that pop-up launcher on top of the turret, and it also has, I believe, an autoloader, but yeah, it has an autoloader, only 3 crew members, which, you know, means that this is one of the first medium tank autoloaders that we have in the game. But overall, I have to say, it's a very interesting tank, a very interesting vehicle, and I did have a lot of fun driving it. Now, it has a commander, driver, gunner. It is also quite a small vehicle, one of the most low-profile tanks in the game. I mean, if you look at the T-62 and the T-55A, the IT-1 is really low profile. Basically, the only thing that is kind of peeking out on the top of the tank is the missile, which is kind of funny. And the low profile means that you can actually hide the whole body of the tank, so that only the top is visible. And basically, that's how this tank is meant to be used. Now, it goes 50 km per hour. This is a 180 millimeter missile caliber. It goes 8 km per hour in reverse, specific power is 70 horsepower per ton, 35 tons, 3 crew member, penetration 5 millimeters, reload 11.1 seconds, turret rotation 25 degrees per second. Now, the frontal armor is 223 millimeters at 70 degrees. The front turret armor, my apologies. The cast turret has 220 millimeters at 73 degrees front, 165 degrees at the side. 30 to 58 millimeter is the turret roof. 102 millimeter at 30 degree is the frontal armor. 16 to 30 millimeter is the whole roof. 20 millimeter is the whole floor. 80 millimeters at 90 degree side. So overall, it does have some protection, but it's a high tier vehicle, and in high tier games, armor basically doesn't mean much. I mean, if you angle the tank, you might be able to bounce some shells, bounce some heat shells, but overall, I wouldn't really be, relying on the armor. It is a low-profile vehicle, and there's a lot of rocks, buildings, stuff like that you can basically use as cover, which is quite the interesting tactic. Now, this tank is also kind of called the Object 150, so it has several different names, although the IT-1, I would say, is the more suiting cost. And this is a level 50. This is a, I think, level, yeah, this is the level 10 tank in the platoon. So I guess it will be time to see how this tank will perform in combat. Now, in combat, this medium tank does feel like a SPAA. I would say it does feel very similar to the M3 Bradley or to the M1 Marder, although this tank has much more armor, and it is not a SPAA, it is a medium tank with a rocket on top of the turret. Kind of looks, when I first saw this tank, I thought that it looked hilarious, because, you know, it is basically like a tank with a missile attached on top of it, and that's basically what it is. But I actually grew to like this thing quite a lot. It is a very unique medium tank, has a very unique playstyle. Basically, the fact that the missile is on top of the turret means that the missile is above the whole hull of the tank, which means you can take advantage of cover. You can basically like shoot at tanks while the entire vehicle is invisible to the enemy. Basically, the only thing that the enemy will see is the missile on top of the turret. They can technically hit the missile. They can hit the launcher, but that usually doesn't result in detonation. Now, a high caliber, high explosive shell is definitely going to overpressure the turret if it hits on top, because it has only 58 millimeters or 30 millimeters at the lowest. So large caliber HE shells can be a problem, but in most cases even the top of the turret is invisible behind cover, so tactical positioning is very important for the IT-1. And well, in this video I'll show you various different positions on various different maps, and I'll show you how this tank is meant to be played. And I still find it hilarious how evil it is that you can basically just hide behind a rock or something and the missile just peeks out. That's all you need to do, basically. Just make sure the missile is above the cover, and the aim actually, the aim is very interesting. The aim on this tank comes, I mean the view on the aiming camera is basically in the same position as the missile, or should I say a little bit to the right of the missile. There is the aiming device that you can see, the periscope on top of the turret. That's basically the only thing peeking out of the turret. It has this huge antenna, but most of the things that you see there is just, it's not going to cause any damage if it gets hit. And look at that, there's a M60A2. All right, fair enough. That's this is not a situation that you want to be caught in. This thing has basically no armor. Well, it has armor, but I'm not in a close range vehicle, but didn't matter. That was a beautiful hit. That was a very nice hit. That M60 got blown up. Now it has 500 millimeters of penetration, but sometimes the missile just fails to kill. And yeah, the missile does travel quite fast, and the way how you guide the missile does require some practice. It is not as easy as it looks. I did struggle quite a bit to learn how this thing works. However, I would say it's definitely easier to use this rocket tank than to use the M60A2. The M60A2 somehow, when you launch the rocket, it kind of requires you to aim up. With this tank, you just aim forward, and the missile just goes where you want it to go. But the fact that you can just hide the whole tank is just so evil. Might very well become one of my favorite tanks in the game at the moment, because as long as you manage to hide the main body of the tank, when you manage to hide the hull and turret, you cannot be destroyed unless you get hit by an aircraft or artillery. Basically, the main nemesis would be artillery and an aircraft, but if you know where to position yourself, no enemy tank will be able to kill you that easily. And speaking of getting killed, and speaking of artillery, yeah, I got killed by a aircraft, I guess. Well, that's fine. Let's go back in action. Now, so yeah, you have to be careful about aircraft, bombs, and artillery, because the top armor, while it's good, it definitely cannot withstand a direct hit from artillery or a high caliber HE shell. Overpressure is definitely one of the ways how to deal with these tanks. Although I haven't really been overpressured that often, because usually when I position my tank, I position it in such a way that that is basically impossible for anyone to hit the top of the turret. And the fact that you can do that, I mean, this is definitely something that no other tank can do, at least not at the moment. We will see what other vehicles they'll add in the game, but the IT-1 is absolutely the most unique tank in the game at the moment. It is a very interesting tank, for sure. And I really love the fact that how evil this works. Like, yeah, you might be thinking that M60A1 can't see me. Nope, they only see the missile. They only see the missile and nothing else. Now, you can technically kill the M60 if you shoot at the commander, but let me see if I can actually do that with a missile. Have to just aim. There we go. Okay, there we go. It worked. It worked. That was another nice kill. 6 kills so far. And this is a really good position for this tank. You can cover both left and right flanks. Now I forgot to mention one very important thing. This tank does have a machine gun, but because the camera, the enemy camera, is basically placed on top of the tank, it is not really lined up with the machine gun. So when you're trying to use the machine gun, it is not going to go where the main aim is. It will basically be a lot lower on the tank. So the machine gun on this thing is definitely clumsy, but you can get used to it quite easily. It is honestly not a big problem. You can quite get used to it. Although the machine gun is rarely used on the IT-1, I don't want to say that it's useless. It definitely would have its purpose, but the rocket has enough explosive power and penetration for both lightly armored and heavy armored vehicles. So the machine gun is kind of useless, but you know, it's nice to have, and it's also nice to know that the machine gun is also placed lower from the aim. So aiming with the machine gun can definitely be tricky, but it is not impossible. It does take some practice, but it is one important thing that you have to note about this tank. The most important thing is that you can just shoot behind cover, and the enemy tank can't do anything about it. I also love the reload animation. They did a very nice work with the animations. They're lovely. Now, I love how it has 500mm of penetration, yet it fails to kill a T-10A. There's, you know, sometimes, you know, the snail just decides that you're not getting the kill, but let's see. I'm spamming the missile. Hopefully I launch. There we go. Nice. That one did it. That did the job. 500mm of penetration. Sometimes it doesn't penetrate 20mm of armor. That's just how the snail works. I also love how the missile is prepared. There's so many details. I love it. You can look at the wings of the missile deploy and the protection caps fall off. There's so many details. I love it. Alright, that was a very nice match. 7 kills, first place. Cannot complain about this at all. That was a very nice run. So, that was that map. A very nice map for the tank. As long as you have good cover, the tank will do really well. Let's go to the next match. So, this platoon, at the moment at least, might very well be one of my favorite platoons in the game. The T-55A is fantastic, the T-62 is fantastic, the IT-1 is also fantastic. And the next map is Japan, one of my favorite, well, definitely my favorite map in the game. And let's see how this tank will perform on this map. Now, I will show you one position on this side where I like to go. And the fact that this is a very low profile tank is going to make this location, this position, even more important. It's around right over here. see these rocks? This is where I like to park, and basically only the top of, well, basically only the missile is visible for the enemy team. So you can stay here, and as long as you don't get shot by an aircraft, artillery, or bombs, you are basically safe. Or maybe you have to be careful about high caliber, high explosive shells. They can technically splash damage you, but overall it is a very safe position to be at, because most of the tanks just cannot hit. And here I did try to use the machine gun, but the machine gun is below the rocks there, so if I use the machine gun, it's basically going to shoot at the rock. So don't be fooled by the aim. The tank is quite tall. Well, not tall, but the aim is quite tall, so you can't really use the machine gun in the same way that you can use it on some of the other vehicles. And from this position you cover your base, you have a good view on the center of the map, and you also have a view on the left flank from which enemy tanks can go. So you cover a wide area. Now we have a IT-1 somewhere far away, 600 meters away from me. That missile went a bit low. I also love how the missile does go up and down when you're firing it. It is definitely a well-detailed game, that's for sure. I have to give the snail some credit. They did a nice work with how everything looks. I did join the air battle for a second. That was a nasty hit. That was a very nasty hit and very nasty kill. But have to go back to the tank. So I purposely crashed my aircraft so that I can get back in the IT-1, and I love how a literal missile hit the turret, hit the object, and that wasn't enough to kill it. I find that quite hilarious. And again, another hit. This one went in the engine, set them on fire, but didn't kill them. The next missile should go there. Nope, it hit the rock. Okay, fair enough. There's another object near the base. Let's launch the missile at the object. There we go. Nice hits. 3 kills. Now the good thing is, when you do run out of ammo, it reloads automatically, which is, I think, something new, because the tank can only hold like 15 missiles, because missiles are big, and I guess there is not much storage inside of it. So you have to be careful with not wasting all the missiles. Although even if you waste them, they automatically reload after some time. So it's honestly in the end not a big deal. But it is important to note that you can only carry about 15 of these missiles. Now that IT-1 is also quite far away. I don't really see the exact tank because of the bushes. Now your missile will detonate if you hit a tree, if you hit a branch, or if you hit basically anything that's on the way. It will detonate. So you really have to have a clear view on the target. Only direct hits count if you want to damage something. Now there's one medium tank on top of not exactly hill, but they're in the middle of the map, which is a very good position. So they might be a problem, so I have to be ready to deal with the medium tank. But this position is so good because, again, my whole tank is basically covered, and the enemy can't get a good shot on me unless they go in the center of the map where the elevation is a bit higher. Well, I guess my artillery did kill the medium tank. That was a double kill, actually. That was kind of a double kill. That was kind of a double kill. 6 kills. I have about... Oh, I actually ran out of missiles. Alright, well, let's wait for the reload to finish. I would actually prefer if you would have to go to the base to reload, but I guess this is just more convenient, so I'm not going to complain. But okay, missiles back in action and reloaded. 40 missiles loaded in. Let's launch, and I missed. Actually, I didn't. Okay, that was a good hit. The IT-1 is back. Let me see if I can... Oh, there we go. They also launched a missile at me, although their missile would impact the rock. My missile had a good view on the turrets of the enemy IT-1. So this is why it's important to basically hide the turret as well as the hull of the tank, because again the stealth is, I would say, the most important part of the IT-1. It is a very stealthy tank, and you should take that as an advantage, because most of the most of the turrets can easily just penetrate the armor of the IT-1. So relying on stealth is definitely the way to go. And this is also one of the most unique playstyles that I've seen from a medium tank in this game. Other medium tanks have to have their turret at least visible in order to shoot at the enemy. This tank doesn't have to have the turret visible at all. Just the top of just the missile has to have a vantage point basically, and the whole tank can be hidden. And that alone is so unique. Now this is definitely going to be a long match. The enemy team is also playing a bit careful, because we are currently leading and think we have a good advantage over the enemy. Now I would usually go to the center of the map with a normal medium tank, but since this is not exactly a normal medium tank, I don't really I can go to the middle and I can probably find a good position there as well, but again, this tank relies on stealth, so you can't just go around anywhere with this vehicle. You have to rely on terrain, since your missile is actually traveling slower than the shell of your enemy, which means that if someone were to shoot at me and if I were to fire the missile at the same time, the shell of the enemy tank will impact my tank before my missile impacts the enemy tank. And since the armor is good, but it is, it has good armor, but in high tiers I wouldn't really rely on armor a lot, because most shells just have a lot of penetration and most will just go through, and since missiles are quite explosive, if it does hit your ammo, the tank will probably blow up. And this has an autoloader, so the autoloader doesn't really make the blowing up part, less explosive, let's say that. So you can't really play this tank like any other medium tank. So basically we'll try to maintain my stealthy position for as long as necessary. The object that got killed didn't know what happened because they only saw the missile looking at them, and they were just looking at me, waiting for the tank to pop up. Well, the tank didn't pop up, but the missile did. So, I mean, this is such a troll vehicle. If there was a KV-2 for tier 8, this is definitely the closest thing that we would get, that we have at the moment. This is such a troll vehicle. It's hilarious. Okay, now I think it might actually be time for me to go forward. Seems like the enemy team is a bit struggling with getting close to us. Okay, let's go to the middle of the map. Now, of course, while you are traveling, I would also suggest that you're taking advantage of all the terrain as possible. Doesn't really have to be a rock. You can basically find a spot where the elevation is just a bit different, so that your tank is basically behind, uh, hidden behind the ground. And yeah, that was nice victory actually. Very nice match. That was fun. That was fun. I have to say, that was a very fun match. Alright, that was let's go to the next one. I want to show you as many of these positions as possible, because I have seen a lot of these tanks just go out in the open, and the fact that you can completely be hidden is an advantage that no other vehicle has. I think only like several different SPAAs have the same type of advantage, but this is definitely the only medium tank with that advantage. And we have the American Desert map. This is a very good looking map, and honestly quite a interesting map for this vehicle. Now this tank isn't exactly a tank that can run around in the middle of the city. This is a tank that relies on stealth and range, although you can technically go close range, but you have to be careful with flanking is definitely a good option. So I won't really be using it for close quarter combat. It is possible to use it for close quarter combat, but it really excels at stealth and long range. Now there is a very nice little position here that I will show you. Basically you can use these buildings as cover and just peek around the corner, fire a missile and go back to cover. Or you can go back to the building behind me and completely be hidden behind some of the buildings. Basically there are some positions where your turret is the only thing visible. Now this is an example of the machine gun requiring you to aim lower, because the tank's aim is placed a bit higher up. And as I mentioned, I love how this has 500mm penetration, but it bounced the frontal plate of a T-10A. Alrighty then. A very interesting missile indeed. Now, just because it has so much penetration and so much explosive doesn't mean that you just have to aim anywhere. You should still try to aim at the ammo or at the fuel, or aim at weak spots. Basically, it doesn't really change much. It just makes the penetration easier. You can definitely use your team as kind of cover. This is definitely a support vehicle, not something like the T20, the T62, which can be a standalone tank. This tank kind of does rely on your team. It is a support vehicle, and for that purpose, it is really nice. That was a very nice shot at the side armor of the T-10A. The reload is actually really nice. I love the autoloader on this thing. It just eats the missile so fast. It is very satisfying to use it. Ammunition exploded. Very nice. I actually had a moment happen to me where my missile literally bounced. Like, my missile hit the enemy, and the missile and the enemy tank started flying together. That was hilarious. The game has some very interesting bugs indeed. The game can be quite funny at times. That was a very nice kill as well. About 6 missiles left. Although it is kind of disappointing that it doesn't one-shot basically when it hits. A very weird missile indeed. It also does damage in a straight line from the point of impact. And this is an example of me hitting an object that was not a tank, but I hit something on the way to the T-54, and the missile basically got ruined by that. That was a very nice shot at the T-54, straight in the ammo. Usually if you do hit the ammo it should be a one-hit kill, but you know, it is War Thunder, so sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. And in this case it didn't, although if that was, you know, it should have just blown up the tank from the very start. And that should have also blown up the T-10A, but it didn't. That was a direct hit in the ammo. And now I am reloading. I run out of missiles. Alright, fair enough. Most likely going to lose this match, but nevertheless, I still did some good... I still had a good score here. Some good damage, so... winning or losing doesn't really matter. I just aim to get as many kills as possible. Hopefully I do get to kill one more tank. Aiming with a machine gun is definitely weird. That's the funniest part about this tank, the machine gun. Sometimes it's just... let's see if this T-10A will come towards me. They will. There we go. Nice shot. That was a good hit. Let's wait for the missile to be put in place. And no more tanks around, but yeah, I started to go forward too late. And yeah, it was a defeat. But nevertheless, very good match. 7 kills. That was nice. That was nice and fun. Nice and fun. Okay, let's go to the next round. So I'm very happy with the IT-1. It's a very exotic vehicle. Let's see what the next map will be. Now the missile is actually 54 kilograms in weight, 5.8 kilograms of heat. It's actually a lot of explosive there. Yikes. It moves 804 km per hour maximum speed, average 780 km per hour. That's very interesting. I love how there is so many details about all the vehicles. So we have Japan, and this is a this is the different this is a oh, never mind, this is the same position actually. Lovely. So let's see what happens here. Now I fired a missile, but I got stuck on the rock, and I fired a missile into the air. That was a fail. There's a Bradley that is trying desperately to hit me, but yeah, they can't really see any of the tank, so I was safe from that SPAA. Now this tree is kind of in the way, so can't really see what I'm aiming at, but I'll still spam missiles. Why not? Might get a surprise hit. Well, I hit something. Yeah, I hit something. Basically, shooting blindly now. I think there's a friendly tank right in front of me. Okay. Yeah, they keep on popping the smoke. You know, sometimes when your team starts spamming the smoke, it does more. It helps more the enemy than it helps your team, because it prevents your team from actually seeing anything, and the enemy can still shoot at you in the exact same position. So kind of counterproductive if you ask me. But okay, I'll be patient. After all, the role of this tank is basically support, so that's what I'm doing. I'm supporting the main battle tanks with a missile tank, rocket tank. Kind of funny. That was a very interesting idea to attach a missile launcher to a medium tank. Well, the T-10A took absolutely no damage from a missile. Okay, let's try this again with the second missile. the second missile did the job. There's another T-10A coming from my side. Have to be careful not to accidentally expose my vehicle to the enemies in front. I was almost got him. Oh well. Let's return to the... Actually no, let's just kill the T-10A. Let's see, can I actually... Yeah, I can, okay. That wrecked the transmission, wrecked tracks, and wrecked the engine as well. Objects somewhere over there, missed. Maybe they were completely behind the building. And there's a M3 Bradley. The Bradley died in the exact same position that the IT-1 from the first match died, in the exact same position, and they died the exact same way, from a blind missile launch. And there is one more tank, a ZSU. Well, I hit something. I have no idea what I hit. I hit a T-10A, but the SPAA survived. Let's launch another missile. That was a close hit. Did do some damage to the enemy. Wait, what just happened? What just happened? Did you see that? The ZSU just started flying all of a sudden. Okay. That tank got launched like 100 meters in the air. What happened? I wish I was there. Would be probably kind of funny to record that. I have absolutely no idea what happened there. No clue. But regardless, let's go and change my position a little bit. Oh, hostile team has lost all vehicles. Okay, that was surprisingly a fast match. Honestly, a very fast match. And well, that was the IT-1. I have to admit, this thing is fun. This thing is definitely fun, and it has a learning curve to it, but honestly, it is just so much fun to drive this tank, and I definitely recommend that you at least try it out, because it is so fun to be able to just stay completely hidden in cover and be able to launch missiles at enemy tanks without them having any chance to actually return fire. And well, with that being said, hope you guys enjoyed. If you would like to support me, feel free to like and subscribe. And with that being said, as always, I'll see you next time.